Hello, I'm Richard Burton from the Richard Burton Watercolour channel here at Bempton on the Yorkshire coast, and today we're going to tackle a painting that's got colour, it's got depth, it's got wonderful vista, it's got everything. It's Wensleydale in the Yorkshire Dales, and it actually features in our new watercolour starter guide, which is yours free. It's in the link below. All you need to do is click on and link to it and obviously download it, and it's yours completely free. And today we're going to do this painting, which is in this guide, and it talks through the different stages of watercolour to create a nice, lovely, fresh landscape. So let's get down to the painting. Okay, so here we have the scene that we're going to tackle, and it's lovely Wensleydale. I'm looking through the valley and you can see that blue distance in the distance with the hills, and then cascading through to the valley with the trees in the centre, that woodland, and that colour change coming from that distant blue through to that warmer colour as you come forward into the near foreground with buildings and their detail, and obviously finishing off with a few trees in the foreground with the sheep in the field. And putting all that together by the use of these transitioning greens, and really this is about colour perspective, using the right colours in the right place to give that feeling of depth and lovely flow to the painting will make it really work. Okay, so we'll start with the sketch. The sketch is really a simple exercise in just splitting it into simple sections of distance, middle distance and foreground, with an emphasis of trying to ensure that you get central areas in the picture, just as the hill is in the background, those woodland in the middle, the direction of the fields, and then obviously the buildings and the trees in the foreground. And once we've got that, that will do. Okay, so this first stage is all about ensuring that you get that transitional series of washes, and it's the background, the sky and the earth. And what we're going to put in place is going to be a simple sky followed by that distant blue, trying to get this colour perspective in place. So you've got a blue distance, you've got that diffused middle distance. As colour starts, the green starts to appear, down to some warmer colours in the foreground, and it's bringing that transitional washes right the way through the picture is going to be absolutely crucial in this first stage. The sky is relatively simple. It's only a small area of the painting. I'm going to use cobalt blue because it's nice and transparent, and then use alizarin crimson to put some clouds in place. If I need to take the purple edge off, I use a little bit of raw sienna in the mix just to settle that sky. And then as I come forward, I'm going to now start with some blues. I'm going to build a bit of a colour story. So I'm going to have some blue greys, which are going to be ultramarine and burnt umber, essentially in the distance. And then I'll transition that into a cool green using ultramarine blue with raw sienna and the Prussian blue. And just bring that forward. As I can see those colour changes as I go through, there's going to be a little bit of light red on the right hand side. As I come through, I'm going to ensure that I have this bead of colour, which is essentially that water that comes down, because the paper is on a slope, and I'm going to bring this bead down and I'm going to leave little bits of white paper in place. Just they're going to provide those highlight areas, or just painting around some central key areas that I just want to protect to put another wash on later. And you're going to see these specks of little bit of light paper which are going to sing through the paper and sing through the painting, and they'll provide the highlights later on. And as I come down to the bottom, I'm going to warm up this green with a little bit of lemon yellow and yellow ochre and raw sienna, and that will give that colour change and give that warmth and depth. I'm also going to put an underwash for some of the trees in the foreground. That's all going to be part of the mix, and that's going to be a bit of burnt sienna and probably a little bit of alizarin crimson in there as well. Now the important thing is that underwash needs to be dry, thoroughly dry. From now we're going to start to work on the mid-tones and work our way down the picture, bringing from the distance right through to the foreground. At each stage I'm going to put in washes, I'm going to put in darks in there, I'm going to diffuse those colours and also give some sharper colours as well. So I'm going to start with the distance, the distant hills. They're an ultramarine blue, cobalt blue with a little bit of burnt sienna and probably a bit of alizarin crimson in there. I want to keep that blue feeling because that blue helps the distance. So it's going to be a blue-green, which is going to be really important. Then I'll take that down and we're going to transition it through. As we come down, I'm going to start putting the fields in place. I'm going to put some of the trees in place, and they're going to gradually build up in colour and depth and strength of colour as I come to the foreground. As I work my way through, those first areas of white that were left, they're going to be really important. They're going to find that sparkle into the picture, so they're going to be carefully made sure that I don't lose those. And I'm also going to use that white area, and I'm going to put those trees in the centre using a slightly different range of colour because they've got more sparkle, more depth into the colour. That's going to be more burnt sienna with a little bit of push and a bit of raw sienna in there to give that mix, and also a bit of purple in there. So it's just got a bit of a range, and I'm going to cascade that through into some of the hedges and give that variety of range of hedges and buildings that make up this wonderful tapestry of the Yorkshire Dales. As I come to the foreground, I'm making a point of warming up my colours for the trees with the use of light reds, bit of crimson, bit of burnt sienna in that mix. And also I'm going to put in some nice greys for the roofs of the buildings and put some shadow areas for the buildings as well to try and capture those that are sitting in the near foreground area, as well as gradually build up darks onto these trees while they're on a moist state, because I want to have that little bit of diffusion about them. Not too many hard edges, but diffusion about them. Careful, there will be some hard edges. All along, I'll be taking a look at the balance and possibly going back into the picture a little bit further on and adding a little bit more blue in the distance if necessary, and also adding some more shadow to some of the fields as I come down the paper. And now moving into the foreground, where we've got those really specimen trees along with the building, which is the barn with the sheep by the side of it. Those trees are going to have a little bit more structure to them, so it's important they get some greys. I use a careful brush to try and capture the branches and the feeling of the size of those trees alongside the stone wall and the canopy. And the canopy I will put on a burnt sienna grey, which will just cascade over, and while it's on the damp stage I'll just add some soft delicate shadows in there, so it'll just capture that three-dimensional feel to the whole structure. Once I've got right through the painting to the foreground, I'm then looking at that final dark layer where we're going to add contrast and depth. This stage really brings the painting to life, so I'm going to add those final details and the final darks, but I'm also going to look through the painting and look for shadows and look to try and get a feeling of the light, the cloud shadows that will be dancing on the fields. And I'm going to use delicate blue-purple shadows across the fields to try and capture that feeling. If you get that combination right, it will really bring the painting to life. So there we are, the finished painting. I've put a mount round it just to show it off, and obviously you've got that lovely view of Wensleydale in the Yorkshire Dales, taking you through the distance into the foreground and everything in between, and you get that really sense of depth by using different colours in different places to give that feeling of colour perspective, as well as obviously layering the different trees and all the elements that go with that. So I hope you've enjoyed that painting. I certainly did. It's been an interesting one to do, and on top of our new Fix It Friday videos, which we're going to do tips and techniques, this really fits in nicely. And obviously last week, which is the one that's just gone out on Friday, was actually all about trees, and if you have a look at that, you'll see how this fits into this picture. So hope you've enjoyed that. If you want to see some more, please do like and subscribe. That gets us picked up by the wider audience. That's important. Without further ado, enjoy and keep painting.